Hi folks, thanks for all your patience with when I do new moon videos, because unlike most people, I do my new moon videos after the new moon, and by then I know for a lot of people the ship has already sailed, and I don't feel that way. That's why I do it the way I do it. But irrespective, I appreciate people not giving me a hard time about that. We had a new moon in Capricorn. Today is January the 2nd, and the new moon was at 10:33 a.m. Pacific time. So we had a new moon in Capricorn at that time. An interesting day and time to have a new moon. It's likely that most people had a sleepy New Year's Eve and New Year's, because the 48 to 48 hours before a new moon tends to be the dark of the moon. So it tends to be flatter, sleepier, more restful, needing to purge. Likely not a very, likely not, a New Year's to invite a great deal of commotion or celebration or romance or limelightness or even fighting or shenanigans. Likely to be a relatively quiet entry into the new year, which is fine as long as you're prepared for it. The advantage of having a new moon on January the 2nd and January the 2nd falling on a Sunday is that by the time you get to January the 3rd, at least the new moon will be behind you and you will have a little bit more energy. It is in the sign of Capricorn, a go-getter sign, a sign of moving towards your goals and moving towards your idea of success and what your idea of success is in this game of life. And I tend to not put a lot of value in the sign the new moon is. I put a lot more value on the house the new moon is. And that house of Capricorn right now is so lit up because we have Venus retrograde in Capricorn happening right now. On the way to the new moon, we had Mercury meet up with a retrograde Venus, then meet up with Pluto in the last few days of the year. And then today or yesterday, depending on where you are, Mercury entered Aquarius, the next sign. Now Mercury is getting ready to go retrograde, and it is in its shadow degrees currently. Mercury is ready to go retrograde on January the 14th. And Mercury will retrograde back into Capricorn and conjunct Pluto again around the time it goes direct on February the 4th. And so we have Pluto in Capricorn. Sorry, there's a dog barking outside that's driving me crazy. These videos just require a certain kind of concentration, so extraneous noise can be a little bit irritating. Lots going on in Capricorn. And so where Capricorn sits in your chart and what house it occupies and what that house stands for, that part of life is going through clearly some kind of reevaluation and transformation. Reevaluation being the key word for Venus retrograde. Reworking or reviewing or rethinking or reconsidering becoming the keywords for Mercury retrograde, which starts on January the 14th. The interesting thing and the valuable thing is that the sign of Capricorn is trining in a harmonious aspect and a supportive aspect to the sign of Taurus, where the North Node eclipses are falling. We had a North Node eclipse in Taurus on November the 19th, and for the rest of 2022 and for part of 2023, the North Node eclipses will continue to form in Taurus. And there's something about, as I mentioned to you in my last video, and I'll place a link to that at the end of this video, there's something about the energy of this time that is very much in harmony with it and supporting the idea that from September 19th to November the 19th, we had the first of the Taurus eclipses that announced some sort of a portal or a new area of growth and development, a new area of focus. Sorry, my leg is hitting the table as I get excited, and I'm noticing it shakes the camera. So I'm gonna just kind of reposition myself. New area of development, where it is that we're going, signified by the Taurus eclipse on November the 19th. But as I have mentioned in my last video, the January 4th eclipse, releasing older patterns that we're dealing with. I'm going to keep this a little bit vague, I'm sorry. And then the December 18th full moon in Gemini, harkening back to the old eclipses or the previous eclipses in Gemini from June the 10th. So we're still playing this game between releasing the old and embracing the new, and we are very much in this birth canal we entered on December the 19th when Venus went retrograde in Capricorn after conjuncting Pluto, the planet of death and transformation in Capricorn. That is going to be conjuncted 3 times by Venus and 3 times by Mercury, the 2 retrograde planets. So whatever is going on in the sign of Capricorn is trying to be, through this process of reevaluation and reconsideration and rethinking, is trying to be transformed in a way that is fundamentally supportive to the direction we're required to move in, which is Taurus and where Taurus sits in your chart, okay? And the reason why this is so clear is that Pluto, at least for the next 3 lunations till the middle of February, is also trining the North Node as it moves into Taurus. Okay, so the North Node is transiting right now from Gemini to Taurus, and Pluto is in the last degrees of Capricorn. So as the North Node moves into Taurus and Pluto continues to move direct, they're gonna trine, and they're gonna look at each other harmoniously, the planet of death and transformation, let's just use that word. Somewhere in the middle of everything that's going on, power dynamics, who has power over you, who has power over your thinking, codependency dynamics are playing out. In some cases, literally, so if Capricorn sits in a part of the chart that has to do with employment or marriage or relationships or a parent or a child, it could be power dynamics related to those relationships. It could be codependency patterns, which with Pluto become quite pronounced, kind of manipulation and control a little bit depending on the degree. But what is more important, truly what is more important, is the concept with Pluto of empowerment and also definite change. But when you've got Venus retrograde meeting up with Pluto and Mercury retrograde meeting up with Pluto, and whatever Mercury's promising in Aquarius right now, because Mercury entered Aquarius today, Mercury will not be able to deliver until after it goes direct February the 4th and back into Aquarius a week or so after. I don't have the exact date on me right now. I'll put the exact date in a different video. I'm going to do a different video on Mercury direct. As I have maintained in my last video, and I will say in this birth canal technically continues till February the 4th, but really ends when, amazingly, both Venus and Mars meet up with Pluto at the end of February, beginning of March, and I think on March the 6th, they both enter Aquarius together. And that is when, ta-da, we enter this new arena related to the Taurus North Node eclipse that Pluto is trying to support. And this new moon in Capricorn brings to attention the transformation that needs to occur in the Capricorn part of your chart to aid and facilitate this overall transformation, the Taurus part of your chart. Okay? Now, new moons bring in something typically within 24 to 48 hours of their being in a certain part of a chart. And I know in some cases it can take a week, it can take 2 weeks. You're going to be dealing with the Capricorn part of your chart till, for another 4 weeks. And frankly, longer, because Mars enters Capricorn on January the 24th. And so you'll continue to have that energy. But at that point in time, it's going to be a lot more constructive and goal-oriented and boundaries-oriented, a lot more energy. Right now, it's about what is starting up, but there's a slow and steady wins the race component to this, or kind of a easy does it, or kind of a participate, don't go silent, stay in it, participate and help redraw whatever needs to happen in the Capricorn side of your chart to support the Taurus side of your chart. Okay, so with certain new moons, we can say, go for it, build something new, lean into it for the next 4 weeks. In this case, it's a leaning into things over the next 4 weeks as things are being reevaluated and rethought and reconsidered. The next new moon is in Aquarius on January the 31st, and by that time, Venus will be direct, but Mercury will still be retrograde. And February 4th, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. So you may have had since November, because Venus entered Capricorn in November, you may have had intimations since November of things coming up to be reviewed and changed in the Capricorn part of the chart? Well, now we're really in the eye of the storm. Well, now we're really in the whirlwind. We're really in the center of the whirlwind here. And so January promises to be an active month for most people, depending on where Capricorn sits in your chart, and one where we're actively moving towards the new, but in that process have to adjust everything else that we have been doing over the past last year, or at least over the past 6 months. So if you're welcoming new energy in your life, you cannot take the same paradigms and the same structures with you into this new part of your life. So as that new part of the life starts to come into your life and make its presence felt more and more and more, things around you need to be adjusted and choices have to be made. And with Venus retrograde, my last video, what do you value? Alignment with your values, alignment with where you're going, alignment, 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 resources in backpack to help you climb the mountain you want to climb. And when Mercury goes retrograde, whatever it is that has been going on, and whatever it is the relationship between the Aquarius part of your chart and the Capricorn part of your chart and the Taurus part of your chart, the houses those signs occupy and what those houses stand for. I mean, I can't make it up, guys. As I read charts and as I look at people's information and it's really, it's here, and we're not out on the other end of it. Everything related to the new has not appeared yet. So there's a leap of faith component to whatever it is that we're tackling based on hints that we've been given between September and November. And we are just starting, but after January the 2nd, there's no avoiding the change either. Now we're not waiting anymore. Now we're in the thick of it. And so we've got to start moving the pieces. We've got to get in the kitchen. And it has that kind of kitchen cooking show quality. And it's really, the energy of the pressure really starts to ease up as we head into the middle of February. And it's really March by the time we feel like we're in the new, okay? The new moon in and of itself, as far as I am concerned, does not make any significant transits. There's a lot out there about it trining Uranus, but as far as I am concerned, the sun and the moon trined Uranus on their way to becoming the new moon. So the trine to Uranus has already happened. The conjunction between Mercury and Pluto has already happened. The conjunction with Mercury and Venus retrograde has already happened. The table has been laid, and we have this new moon. The new moon itself does not have any approaching aspects to it that are worth considering. It may make aspects to planets in your natal chart, which will be very helpful for you to understand and see how supportive or not this new moon really is. What points in your natal chart is it squaring or trining? And the one aspect outside of this new moon that is truly significant is Pluto trining the North Node, which we have already talked about. The ruler of this new moon, Capricorn, is Saturn. Saturn is Uranus. Saturn is in Aquarius, one of its own signs. So Saturn is one of the dispositors of the chart. And because Saturn is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is also ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus is ruled by Capricorn. So we're back to Saturn being the key dispositor of the chart, but somewhere Venus and Uranus also playing a role. I can't make this up. We have the Saturn-Uranus square that we have just come out of, with Saturn being in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. And what can I say? With Saturn taking the actions and not falling into patterns and behaviors of least resistance that have been in place for the past 28 odd years that are not in your best interest. The right kind of sense of discipline and self-worth and self-love that helps you make good decisions and the right decisions related to yourself. Excuse me, we need this light. Sorry about that. It's a little bright, but we'll deal with it. I'm almost getting done. And with Uranus, the drive towards greater authenticity and liberation in the Taurus part of your chart, and with Venus retrograde right now, the reevaluation that is needed in order to make all of this happen. Relationships, financial decisions, money, flow, luck, all of that being held back so that you can do, I don't know, sort of a financial analysis, a reevaluation of your values, your values, alignment. I'm going to place a link to my last video. I mean, I just have to, because that's the background for this new moon. But the new moon in Capricorn may bring developments in the Capricorn part of your chart that, you know, play a role, that get you in the kitchen. And over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you may be actively moving the coordinates and shifting things around. Keep your compass where it needs to be in terms of alignment, so that by the time you get to the middle of February and into March, you have really built for yourself what you need in order to move towards what is authentic for you in that Taurus part of your chart. Okay? Because this new moon in Capricorn and the retrogrades in Capricorn conjuncting Pluto trining the North Node, this new moon in Capricorn is supporting where it is that we need to go, and is simply bringing in energies and conversations and reevaluating relationships, reevaluating financial decisions, and rethinking commitments to some extent, rethinking what we have committed to, rethinking what we thought our plans were, being open, being flexible. Don't sign on the dotted line if you can help it until February the 7th or 8th or so, if you can help it. If you can't, and if you sign on something, I would say starting February the, I don't know, let's say 10th or so, certainly the 14th, 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th to February the 7th or so, it's likely that whatever you sign is going to be temporary, and you're going to find out more about it as you go along. So just try not to be too definite right now, okay? But the only thing you need to be definite about is what is authentic for you in the Taurus part of your chart, and where you think the November 19th eclipse of last year, so September 19th to November 19th, where you think you have an invitation to move towards sort of this kind of portal that opened up at that time that you have not been able to walk through yet. But there are adjustments that need to be made, and this new moon is very much putting you in the middle of those adjustments. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Feel free to comment, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you're notified whenever I do new videos, and I will leave it at that. All right, thank you very much.